Thought I'd do one more video today because I keep seeing rumors that we're going to get an update in the Kylie Rodney case any day now, and I want to get out in front of it. And I want to put my officially put my theory out there because I'm one of them kind of people. I just love to say "I told you so" to people that think they know everything, and I have not seen anything that would indicate anything other than a tragic accident in this case. There, there has been so much speculation, and all of the conspiracy theories, the foul play, the all of that has been grounded in either ignorance of the automobile, gross exaggerations of the facts, or just wild speculation. And something I learned very early on in my career as a technician, it's typically the most simplest thing. I can't tell you how many times I've seen technicians beat their head against the wall trying to solve a drivability issue on a car, throwing parts at it like crazy, and only to find that it was a blown fuse. Reminds me of a guy that they hired to work under me when I was a shop foreman at Taylor Chevrolet in Lancaster, Ohio. I was the shop foreman in their Buick store and hired a technician who sort of had a big head and tried to convince me that he knew everything. And the first, one of the first jobs that he was dispatched was a vehicle that the cruise control on the car didn't work. And these people were on vacation. And they're traveling in their 6-month-old Buick that's still under factory warranty, and the cruise control quit working. And when the technician pulled this car into the service bay, I noticed that the rear third brake light bulb was out. And as the day progressed, watching him tear this car apart, he had I walked over and I said, "Hey, you might want to check that rear brake light." Just nonchalantly. Guy told me he was a technician. He had a lot of experience. And he tore his car to shreds. He had the kick panels out, the foot panels out, the carpet pulled up, the wiring harness pulled out of it. He put a cruise control servo on it, a cruise control switch on it, cruise control dump valve on it, a new brake light switch on it. And guess what it was, folks? Third brake light bulb was out. Cruise control power feeds through the third brake light bulb for a reason, because that's a safety issue. And when that bulb goes out, it shuts down the enhancements such as cruise control. So if you got a car and the cruise control ain't working, you need to check your third brake light bulb. Now, to move on, it's always the most likely, not the most unlikely. It's typically the most likely, not the most craziest, far-fetched thing possible. And there's something funny about this younger generation that just wants to believe in the just most wildest, far-fetched nonsense rather than just what is most likely. And that brings us to the Kylie Rodney case. What's most likely? Well, what's most likely is it was a tragic accident. All of these theories built around misinformation, ignorance about the car, people that are viewed as knowledgeable people making comments in absolutes when they're not certain about what they're talking about, like Doug from Adventures with Purpose, who is just awesome at speaking in absolutes about shit he doesn't know a thing about, like automobiles. And no, kids, being a tow truck driver do not make you mechanic, not by a long shot. That's another misconception. When you go in a parts store and the kid behind the counter that gets the parts off the shelf and hands them to you, they're not technicians. If they were technicians, they'd be working in a dealership fixing automobiles for serious money, not working at a parts counter for minimum wage. You find technicians in a repair shop, not at a parts counter. Always remember that. That knucklehead selling you them parts don't know any more than you do. Anyway, back to the topic. This was a tragic accident. All the wild theories are grounded in, as I said, a lot of misinformation, gross exaggerations, people speaking in absolutes when they shouldn't. So the first thing I want to do is punch holes in those real quick. Okay. Doug from Adventures with Purpose led us to believe that the road that you would take to get to where Kylie's car was found could not be traveled because it was this like really bad road, and you would need a 4-wheel drive. But magically, in the video of them retrieving Kylie's car, when Doug is sitting in the kayak or the boat talking to them about shutting their phones off and going dark, if you look in the back of the shot, and I've said this 1,000 times, there is a family in a minivan blowing up water toys and lighting a hibachi grill, which would indicate they drove their minivan back there. And if you look further off in the shot, there's a elderly couple sitting in lawn chairs beside their little Ford, looks like a Fairlane. There is another person in a Honda Civic, and this couple in a minivan. In the Adventures with Purpose video, where Doug says you can't make it back that road, I went to Google satellite images, and in Google satellite images, I counted 14 cars on that side of this road you can't travel. It was a habit for the kids in that community and adults as well. Guys, you got to understand, this is a public park that's popular for that town, Truckee. That's where everybody goes. They're going to have their family reunion there. They're going to have their graduation party there. They're going to have cookouts there. It's a very popular place. And it's a common practice with the youth in that area to drive right up to the water's edge and party. And I'm talking so close, you could open the car door and tickle your toes in the water. And we can see this. We can see this in multiple photos. We can see it by the hundreds of tracks all around the water's edge. We can see it in the Adventures with Purpose video, where they're telling us they're about to dive on Kylie's car. And there's this family right in the back of the shot in their minivan having a cookout, Doug. And Kylie was no stranger to that park. They went there almost every weekend. This party was not unusual. There were kids gathering out there every weekend. Kylie knew that place like the back of her hand. And in fact, there is a video of Kylie driving her mother's Toyota 4Runner, learning to drive. And she drives through a tunnel and over this 4-wheel drive trail. And then at the end of the video, they're parked right at the water's edge in the car. And in Zanime X's video, that video's up on my channel, you can count 21 cars setting at the water's edge in her video. That's how popular this park is. That's how common it is to park near the water's edge. Now, in the particular place where Kylie's car was found, there's a pretty steep bank for the last 8 feet or 9 feet to the water. It's pretty steep. It's 45-degree angle. And that 45-degree angle would continue right down into the water, clear to the bottom. And there's a misconception that the car was laying flat on the bottom on its top. And that's not the case. It was not. We're going to get into that. It's my belief that Kylie, like she had done many times before, simply drove her car down that very accessible road where we saw several other automobiles to park by the water's edge, either alone or with somebody else. That we're not going to know. No one knows unless you were there. Adventures with purpose, opinion about how the car entered the water would have no more weight than mine or yours. They weren't there. They're not crash experts. When they get to a car, it's on the bottom. So they wouldn't know any more about how that car entered than anyone else. I just want to clear that up. Just because you are a sonar expert, it doesn't mean you're an expert at everything else, kids. And I believe she drove that car to the water's edge like she had done many times before to either sleep, park, party in private, whatever. And from there, something tragic happened. She hit the gas instead of the brake. The car stalled and it rolled in gear and rolled right into the water. And I believe, it's my belief, based on the damage on the car, the steepness of the bank, and the way the car was setting on the bottom, that car hit that water at a 45-degree angle and it began to flip before it ever got in the water. And when it hit the water and them windows were down and it was already on its side, it sunk fast. That's why the window was broke out. And we see this in there's more evidence to back up my theory in the kid that found the laptop in one of his other videos. There is broken glass close to the bank. And I believe that broken glass close to the bank was her window shattering when that car rolled as it went down that steep bank at a 45-degree angle. And when the right side tires of the car hit the water, it caused the car to flip. And this is what I'm going to show you. We're not talking about it going straight down the bank. We're not talking about that. We're talking about it coming in at an angle down the bank, down that steep bank. When tires hit, it began to roll. Broke the window, flipped on over, windows down. 30 seconds, it was on the bottom. There's a lot of misconceptions out there due to ignorance about the car. One, I've said this before and we'll say it again. It's indicative to the design of an automatic transmission. They will roll in any gear with the engine off, any direction. There are no gears inside of an automatic transmission. There are only clutch packs that need to be pressurized by a high pressure pump that's being spun by the engine. Without that engine running, creating that 5,000 psi of pressure to pack those clutch packs, you just got a free rolling shaft there that's got no gears on it, just clutch packs that aren't energized, and it'll roll freely. There's two reasons for this. One of them is, again, it's indicative to the design of the automatic transmission. It's what makes an automatic do what an automatic does. We don't need a clutch anymore. The clutch packs inside there slip for us. We don't have to ease our foot off the clutch. And a lot of the young, in the defense of the millennial age and down, many of them have probably never even been in a manual shift car. You know, when I was a teen, every car was stick shift, and you had to order an automatic car. Stick shift was standard equipment. But that argument, it's not even debatable. Because of the way an automatic transmission is designed, there's nothing else it can do but roll freely when not in gear, or when in gear and the engine not running. There's another reason for it. If you're driving down the road 70 miles an hour and you run out of gas, your engine stalls, if it didn't roll freely, what would happen? Your wheels would lock up and you would crash. So it's just not a debate. Car will roll in any gear when the engine not running. And if you knew the first thing about what makes an automatic do what an automatic transmission does, then you would understand that just as well as you would understand water's wet and, you know, the earth's going to rotate today. So moving on, the big crisis about the strap hanging out the back tailgate with all you guys' wild ass speculations. All your wild ass speculations about it being the seatbelt tying her down and the rope that was tying the body down. And because there's people out there that are ignorant enough to believe that a bunch of knock-kneed high school kids can be sinister murderers and plot to murder a classmate. Or the even more ridiculous, absurd notion that she OD'd so they put her in the water so they wouldn't get in trouble. 200,000 teens in this country, over 200,000 teens in this country every year overdose. And there's only been one incident where a friend was arrested for their friend's overdose. And that was because it was proven they sold them poison, fentanyl that they knew was poison. But you're not going to get in trouble if you call the police and say, my friend OD'd. Everyone knows that. Probably every kid at that party knows somebody that had a family member that OD'd. It's that common. And had she OD'd, those kids, one of the 400, would have simply called the police. They wouldn't have said, let's put her in the water and I'll keep it a secret. It's nonsense. They're high school kids. And let me tell you something. What high school kids can't do is keep secrets. And y'all ought to know that. So that's just the most absurd theory I've ever heard. The strap hanging out the back tailgate means nothing. The gear shift selection means nothing. Those are not evidence to suggest foul play. So let's talk about this tailgate strap that so many non-experts think they're experts about. And I'm going to show you a couple screen shares here. Let me pull the first one up. So kids, take a look. What do you see? That's a pull strap. Now, do you see that the length of that pull strap is long enough to stick out the back? Do you see that? Let me show you another screen. This is a replacement strap. And there are many of them made because they're known to break when the car gets to be about 5 years old. Hers is 9 years old. These break. See, there's another one. There's another one. Let's look at some more. There's another one. There's another one. There's another one. There's another one. There's a short replacement. There's a long replacement. There's a camo one. There's a red one. There's a whole group of multiple different colors. So as you can see, those are sold very frequently. And that comes standard equipment on most CRVs. Now, of course, there are exceptions. Of course, there are exceptions. The CRV EXL Limited with full leather and all options has an electric gate that opens electrically and closes electrically. Those wouldn't be equipped with a pull strap. But the base model CRV, the heater and keys option, we call it, the one that comes with vinyl seats and a cheap radio, which was the model that Kylie had, wouldn't have any of those extra fluff. And it would come with your standard pull strap to pull the gate closed. Because, kids, when that gate's all the way open, the average height woman can't reach it. That's why that pull strap's there. So that strap hanging out of the back of that car means nothing to me because I'm aware of how that car is made. Now, I'm not saying the people that thought it meant something were dumb. I'm saying they had no idea that gate comes with a pull strap from the factory that is known to hang out the back of the gate. If you don't tuck it back in before you shut the gate, it's going to stick out. And I'll bet you I could drive around a shopping mall today and find a CRV with that strap hanging out the back and the seatbelt hanging out the side door, I'll add, because those are known to do that as well. So there's some theories I've already put to bed. One, boom, the broken window happened when the car rolled over when it hit the water. Two, the gear shift selector meant nothing. The tires being able to roll when it's being towed out meant nothing. Three, the strap hanging out the back is not a clue to anything. That's a part that comes factory on the car, and it was hanging out just like it should, just like it would. It wasn't tying anybody down. It's a pull strap on the lift gate, kids. So we're going to go back to what is the most possible thing? What's the most likely thing instead of the far-fetched? Again, and it seems like I've had to beat this dead horse. That bank was not flat, kids. That lake bank was a 45-degree steep hill. And that 45-degree angle continued clear down into the water. And that car was setting on the bottom like this. Not like this. It was setting like this. Now, the body couldn't have gotten the back. You can't get over that seat. Nonsense. We're going to go back. Kylie's CRV is a base model. It doesn't have the big luxurious back seats with the big high backrest. It has the basic vinyl seat with the two little adjustable headrests and the pull strap on the lift gate and the cheap radio. And the didn't have all the fancy features the big model would have. So let me show you another screen just for a second here. If you'll bear with me. First, I want to show you. Look, if you do a Google search for rear pull strap 2013 CRV, you can do it now. There they are. Tons of different ones to get. Now, let's move on to something a little more meaty, if we will. I am so sick of hearing people say the body couldn't have got back there on its own. Absolute, utter nonsense. Me, 235 pounds, 6 foot tall, I could climb over that seat with ease. With ease. There wouldn't even be any restriction. And what's so damn frustrating about the people that are denying that is if you Google it, you'll see thousands of videos of people crawling over the seat. People just want to believe in theories. They want to believe in conspiracy theories. And it just doesn't make a lick of sense as to why anybody would want to do that. That's the wrong one. Let me show you a better one here. Now, first, I did a Google search on can you climb over the seat in the back of a CRV, and there's probably 50 videos showing people climbing over the back seat of their CRV. So, God darn it, guys, quit it. Look at the distance. Look at that. Look at the distance.
Try killing bugs the worry-free way, not the other way. Zevo traps use light, not odors or chemical insecticides, to attract and trap flying insects.
Me with this nonsense.
They work continuously, so you don't have to. Zevo, people-friendly,
wait on
bug
Google
deadly.
to make some money here. Well, we get to have 2 commercials.
Cargo. As it turns out,
boom. Look at the height between those headrests and the ceiling of the car. Stop it, people. Stop it. You don't know what you're talking about, and you're believing in invisible boogeymen that don't exist. They don't exist. You can climb over that seat. It's a piece of cake, which means, guess what else would happen? And I hate to even have to say this, but a decomposing body would absolutely float right past that son of a gun. Not even slow it down. So now what do we know? We know kids are known to drive to the water's edge at that lake, and Kylie had done it many, many, many times. She spent a lot of weekends at that lake. She knew that place like the back of her hand, and so did all the other kids. That's their party place. That's where they go. 2, wheels rolling when the car's pulled out of the water mean nothing. Car will roll in any gear with the engine off. 3, window broke out. Doesn't mean nothing. Broke when the car rolled. 4, strap hanging out the back gate. Must have been tied down. Nope, just debunked that. That's pull strap. Comes on the car. Right? Car was sitting on the bottom like this, kids. Car was setting on the bottom like this, kids. Not like this. Not like this. Something like that. On the bottom. Here's the bank. Here's the lake. Here's the bank. Here's the lake. She's on the roof of the car. Drowned. Body would simply just float right up into the back when it decomposed. We're going to find out that this was a tragic accident. And a lot of you people ought to be ashamed. You have drugged these poor children, these poor high school kids who just graduated and are just starting to begin their life. Jagger, who loved this girl dearly. They were broke up, but they remained friends. That's how much respect they had for each other. They didn't. It wasn't a nasty breakup. They were still very good friends. They still actually went on dates, but they had decided that in their youth, with them both getting ready to go to college, it was time to think about dating other people. And he loved that girl. And you people have been accusing him of killing her without a smidgen of evidence. You've been accusing her friends of killing her when their hearts are ripped out. I watched the Sammy interview, and I don't see one single thing about it that's even remotely suspicious. She's a knock-kneed kid. She's not going to speak perfectly. And just because she misspoke about 4 minutes on the phone call, she didn't have the phone in her hand to recall the exact second. And I guarantee you, when she was asked that question, She didn't answer in a way that she thought, oh, God, this has to be perfect. She was just shooting from the hip, doing an interview, telling her story the best she could, and she misspoke about the time. And we got to go back. We got to go back again. What's most likely? Sammy's a calculated liar and a sinister killer, or she simply misspoke? What's most likely? We got a computer going out, or we just got a fuse bad? We got a massive electrical problem, or we just got a battery cable loose? So that's my official theory. I want it written in stone so I can tell all of you I told you so when we get this update from police. Kylie simply drove to the water's edge for whatever reason, like she had done many times before. That bank right before the water is very, very steep. She could have pulled too far forward. She could have went to put her foot on the brake and missed the brake. She could have accidentally hit the gas. The engine could have stalled and it would have immediately rolled in gear. The idea that car had to be coming straight down, just at a perfect straight shot to the water. Why are you guys so stuck on that? The car couldn't have been coming in at an angle and been upset like this when it hit the water and flipped over? You know, Doug from Adventures with Purpose just acting like that's just totally impossible because he was a tow truck driver once. Well, I was towing I was towing cars when I was 16. That's my theory. I want it known because I'm going to say I told you so.